Hello there everyone, and welcome to another edition of Lydia's Crafty Corner with me, Lydia, in my little crafty corner. So today we are going to be doing a little bit of stenciling and also some pencil colouring onto a 3D image. Now the embossing folder that I am going to be using is the Elegant Motif from the beautiful project kit. You can see that it is a slimline embossing folder, but I am just using a normal 4 1/4 by 5.5 panel in this. As you can see, I just lined that up where I wanted it to be on my card panel and then just ran that through my embossing machine. I'm then going to use the stencil from the kit, so the Elegant Motif colouring stencil, to colour this in. Now these don't fit perfectly, you are going to need to move these around a little bit, but they will work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the first stencil and I'm going to pop it into place over the rows. Now you will need to flip this one over for it to kind of fit in within the shape. For the first layer of this, I am going to be using the Amethyst ink, and it is a beautiful kind of dusky purple colour for this one. Once I've done that, all I'm going to do is I'm going to shift that stencil up a little bit, pop it into place into the image, and then for this one I'm going to be using the Plum. I am using my mini ink blending tools for this, but you could use whichever ones that you do want to. So again, this is the first stencil, and this time I flipped it over, so this is the right way around, to kind of cover this image that we have at the bottom here. Again, for the first layer I will be using that Amethyst ink and just adding this over that beautiful embossed image that we have. The rest of the image kind of, the stencil, sorry, kind of creates kind of a mask so you don't go over the edges. I'm then going to shift that stencil up slightly and just align this image up, and then I'm going to be using the Plum ink again for this layer too. Once I'm done with that, I'm then going to move on to the third stencil. Now this has this kind of cluster here. Now you will need to shift this one around slightly just to get those images coloured. Again, I'm using the same inks as before. So I'm using the Amethyst for the base layer. So you can see that I did the little buds, then I moved the stencil up slightly just to get that large flower in there. Once I have those, I'm then going to add in the second layer for these two. Again, I will be using that Plum ink. I'll start with the flower first, then I will shift the stencil down a little bit just to get those detail layers onto those little buds that we have at the top. On this same stencil, we also have the little bud as well, so that's kind of further down of the image. And again, same colours as before, so I'm using the Amethyst for the base, and then I'll be using the Plum ink for that detailed layer too. I'm then going to move on to the fourth stencil, and I have flipped this over so it does fit into place this time. And for this one, I am going to be using the Marshland ink. I just love the tone of this green. It's so very pretty and very vintage, I feel. So again, for this one, because the stencil won't line up perfectly, you will need to do a little bit of manipulation, a little bit of shifting it around a little bit, just to get all of those images coloured. As you can see, I kind of start with one area, shift the stencil, and then ink up the next piece. You can see that most of the kind of foliage images are on this stencil here, and you just kind of need to move it around a little bit. I'm also going to move on to the fifth stencil, and for this one I just have the little leaves on this little flower at the bottom there, again with the Marshland ink. So this one didn't have a layer, but I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to try and disguise that later on. I'm also going to add a little bit of yellow ochre to that flower centre. I'm then going to move on to the woodless colouring pencils. I am so happy about these, and I do love the rainbow shades that they're in. It's so pretty. So for now, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some shading onto these embossed images that we have here. Now I'm going to be starting off with the moss pencil, and all I'm doing is I'm kind of scribbling away at the image. This is going to hit that kind of the higher parts mostly, so it is going to give you more shading that way. But I do love the fact that you can add simple shading just like this by using pencils. It's one of my favorite things to do, to add a little bit more interest and detail to the images. So once I've added all of the dark spots that I think with this colored pencil here, this one is the moss, I then took the mangrove root pencil as well, and I added some extra shading to the leaves too. So with this, the kind of theory I have is I'm just popping in this darkest colour where I think it would be the darkest. So that's going to be at the base of the leaves and also where things kind of cover the leaves, so the petals and other leaves and things like that. So once I had finished with the leaves, I then decided I want to add a little bit more colour and detail to the little petals as well. So I'm going to be using the Cosmic Berry pencil from the Woodless Pencils, and I'm just adding this colour, scribbling it away into the places that I think is going to be the darkest again. You could definitely switch out these colours if you wanted a different look. Maybe add a little bit of green to these images. That would be really pretty as well. So I'm just going to keep going until I've added all of that. Now, to try and disguise this bit here, I decided to kind of make it a little bit flatter. So I'm taking my bone folding tool from Altenew and I'm just flattening that paper with the flat edge of the bone folder. Once I'd done that, I could then scribble away any of the little bits that I had coloured in mistakenly using an eraser. For a little bit more of an added interest to this, I then decided to add some splatter. So I'm going to be adding 3 different colours of splatter. I started off with the Antique Gold. I then went in with the Jet Black, and then I thought that wasn't enough. So I then added some pure white splatter as well, kind of concentrating on those flowers rather than the rest of the card. Once that's done, I left that to dry. I'm then going to take one of the sentiments from the Elegant Motifs Craft Your Life kit, and I am going to be stamping this onto Jet's Black Cardstock. So to do this, all I'm going to do is add some anti-static powder down, and then I'm going to stamp the sentiment using some of the embossing ink from Altenew. I'm then going to take some pure white embossing powder and heat set that onto that black cardstock. So once that was nicely embossed, I then get rid of the anti-static powder with my sleeve, and I'm just going to trim this down using my guillotine. So I'm just going to trim all of the edges of this to make sure that they're kind of the same all the way around. So once I have that nicely trimmed, I then decided I want to kind of bring in that gold that we use for the splatter. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the gold glitter cardstock from Altenew, and I'm just going to trim this round the little sentiment strip that we have there, kind of leaving the same edge of a border all the way around it. Once I've done that, I'm then going to adhere this little bit of black sentiment to our little mat that we have here with the gold glitter cardstock using some foam tape. I'm then going to take a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card base, and I'm just going to add my beautiful panel onto this. I am just using some glue tape, but you can use whichever glue that you do find works for you. So I'm going to pop that into place. Once I'm happy with the panel on there, I'm then going to add a little bit more foam tape behind that little sentiment that we have, and then pop that into place again, going over that little bit that we're trying to disguise. I then wanted to kind of bring some more of that splatter into play, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the Jet Black enamel dots from Altenew and pop those around the sentiment. So here is the card complete. I really do hope that you like it as much as I do, and I hope you've enjoyed the video too. If you do create a card that was inspired by this, it'd be great if you do share because we'd love to see. Thank you so much for watching everyone, and we'll see you again really, really soon. Bye-bye. Hello there, crafty friend, Lydia here. Just popping in to say that you can get your daily dose of crafting tips, techniques and tutorials just like this by subscribing to the Altenew YouTube channel. All you need to do is click on that little bell up there and you will never miss a video. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.